Hey, Bradford back with another WoW TCG Classic Deck Tech. We're going over Slow Mage again, but this time it's the Silvermoon City version. So, just a reminder, here's our hero. It's going to be the same one, same Blood Elf. It's got the pay 4, deal 2 to a target hero or ally, draw a card, use only on your turn. He really just wanted a Blood Elf hero. That's the reason we have this guy. He's got a nice, reliable draw card flip, and usually you can either ping off or kill a guy or just hit something for 2. He is the hero of the deck. I'll go over the differences in a minute, but let's also look at the win conditions. They're a little different. We still have one Thrall, just like the other deck, except we have more than one win condition in the deck. We have another master hero, Ysera. She costs 20 instead of 10. She says you pay 1 less to play her for every face-down resource you control. So if you control 10 face-down resources, she will only cost 10. So we will certainly try to get that. This deck plays cheap quests so that you can try to have them always flipped. That's the idea. She has Min 3. At the start of your turn, you may draw a card. So she's definitely longer. She's going to heal us slowly and draw us 2 cards a turn. Another important part is that in the bottom left, she has 3 nature attack. Unlike Thrall, who has Assault 5 but 0 attack, Ysera can only ever attack for 3 instead of 5, but she has 3 attack permanently, so any creatures that hit her will take 3 damage back forever, and there's no way to get rid of that unless they have some kind of minus attack thing, which no one really plays. At least not versus mages. So we have 2 different master heroes that basically cost 10, maybe 11 to play. That's 2 win conditions. We've also got 2 Netherbreath Spellblades in the deck. Pay 5, you'll never strike with it, but it says if you would draw a card, you may skip drawing it instead. When you first skip drawing a card this way on each of your own turns, put target ability from your graveyard into your hand. Remember that Blood Elf quest we had last game that lets you put ability cards from your graveyard into your hand? This has the same role, except it's not a quest. Once this is in play, start of my turn every turn, I'm never going to draw from the top of my deck ever again. What I'm going to be drawing is counter spells if they have cards that I want to counter, removal if they have creatures I want to get rid of, healing from Cinnamon Conjured Cinnamon Roll if I want to heal back up, or our super card draw like Mana Sapphire. This is the one we went over in the other video. You just pay X. It will cost 3 to come into play. Pay X, usually 5. So you're going to be drawing like 5 cards from this every time that you choose to. So this only triggers during your first time you draw a card during your own turn. So you can only ever get 1 trigger from this and only on your own turns. So you can't like chain this with a card draw. But this is a way that you can certainly lock your opponent out of the game while you just draw too much, get too much removal, or you just burn them out with some of your removal spells that are also burn. A single flickers from the past. We have a lot of the same cards in this deck. We've got Blizzards, we've got Cinnamon Rolls, we've got Slows to bring back, we've got Mystic Denials, so we've got a similar package. The main difference in this deck, it plays very different removal. In fact, it plays almost no removal. Yes, its goal is to stall and play an expensive win condition, but it does so in a different method. This is called the Silvermoon Mage for a reason. Silvermoon City requires a Blood Elf hero. We have one. As Silvermoon City enters play, choose Arcane Fire, Frost, Nature, or Shadow. We will be choosing Shadow basically every time. Then it has tap. Target Blood Elf in your party has the chosen resistance this turn. Well, we are a Blood Elf, so we're going to be using this to make ourselves immune to Shadow. First off, there are a number of decks that use Shadow a lot, specifically Warlock decks, Warlock dot decks, the Warlock demon decks, Warlock aggro decks. They have a significant number of Shadow creatures, probably something like 16 to 24. So just 1 card you nullify half their deck. And between the counter spells and the healing, they just can't kill you. Ebonweave Robe is the other part of this combo. It costs 4. It does have 1 armor, yay. But it says allies you control have shadow resistance. And if an opposing ally would deal any type of damage, it deals shadow instead. This only works against allies, not versus heroes. But with this robe and this thing in play, their allies can never damage you again. So your opponent's new game plan becomes, how do I get rid of one of these 2 things? I have to get rid of his robe, or I have to get rid of this. But you have interrupts, so that's going to be hard for him to do. Once you've assembled this, this is pretty much a lock versus ally decks. They have a very difficult time getting through that. That's why our deck doesn't play a ton of removal, like the Glyphtrace Nice that like wipes the board. We don't really want our board wiped. We want to keep both of these in play and take no damage and just play resource every turn. We've still got Blizzard. I'm not going to read that again. Arcane Barrage is a different one. This is a pay 4, deals 4 damage to target hero or ally. It cannot be interrupted. You may play this ability from your graveyard. If you do, the next time it would enter the graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. If you play Magic, this basically has flashback equal to its cost. If you don't, what this means is this card costs 4, you can shoot something for 4. And then when it's in your graveyard, you can play it again for full cost, so it costs 4, shoot something for 4 again, but then you have to take it and remove it from the game, and there's a separate pile for that. We have some Brittilizes. It's 2 mana ongoing. When it comes into play, you can destroy an armor, and you can sacrifice it, deal 2 frost damage to a hero or ally they can't attack this turn. That's good removal versus like small allies, and it also doubles up as a 2-for-1 against equipment-based decks. You just get to pop off important armors for them. It also can come back into play with flickers from the past. And again, if you have like a Spellblade out and your opponent is playing an armor-based deck, you can just put this into play every turn, kill one of their armors, and then use it to shoot their hero so he can't attack. And then again, continue to bring it back into play and kill all their armors off. It's a good card. Conjured Cinnamon Roll. We saw this one before. Remember the foot? So this is ongoing. It costs 2 to sit into play. Then you can pay 1, sacrifice it, heal 1 for every one of your resources. Again, we can bring this back with Spellblade or Flickers. This just keeps us back in the game. Sometimes you take like 15 or 18 damage. You only have 7 health left. You're worried about like ferocity creatures killing you. So that's why we have these in the deck. We have plenty of card advantage, so we don't mind a card that doesn't affect the board. We do like cards that heal us for 8 or more, though, and that's what this will do. And it can do it repeatedly. This deck chooses to play 3 of them instead of 2. You're going to take a little bit more damage. You just don't have the removal, so you really want a way to claw back into those games. Instead of removing all their allies, you just want to make their allies never be able to hit you again. This is the slow and interrupt package. Here's slow again. Attached to target hero, they can only play 1 card per turn. That's it. If this is attached to them, there's no way to get around this. They'd have to silence this or destroy it. So they can play 1 card per turn, which plays into our interrupt suite really well. It also plays into our removal suite decently. You're probably wondering, why is Arcane Barrage in this deck? Like, it doesn't seem to fit. Sometimes you just need to kill something. It does 4 damage. That'll kill a lot of the relevant cards in this game. Or between this dealing 4 and a Blizzard pinging things for 1, you can kill off cards like Death Veer. Or any other card that has 5 health. This is also it's an okay win condition. You can keep shooting your opponent for 4, like with Netherbreath. Or if you draw 2 or 3 of these, each one can shoot for 4 plus 4. So each one of these can be 8 damage. Okay. And if your opponent does play threat you can't counter, you might have the Barrage just to burn it out and kill it. Alright, and we're looking at another Taste of Arcana. Again, this is Days for Magic. You can use this to shoot the hero for 1, and it interrupts a card they play unless they pay 1. So if they have no resources, this can interrupt anything. This can also kill an ally. You can just shoot an ally for 1 in case you need to. Fizzle interrupts target abilities of 3 or less. This is a great way to interrupt decks that are ability heavy, or decks that are trying to interact with all your spells in the stack. It's good at interrupting other interrupts. You'll notice that 1, 2, 3 of these cards all cost 3, so Fizzle's great in any kind of ability mirrors. Nether Fracture, this is your standard 3 mana counter anything spell. Counters anything except a master hero. And quests and locations can't counter resources. We have 3 Mystic Denials, oh boy. We remember this one, pay 5, interrupt a card, and then it sits in play and interrupts the next card they do. Sucks to play against this when they have slow on. You're entering the soft lock. We have 4 Spell Suppression still. This card will never get wiped away by Glyphtrace Ritual Knife, we have one of these in the sideboard. That's the one that lets you, it basically just kills all permanents on the board, except for resources and heroes. We don't have any of those main boards, so these are probably just going to sit and play and turn off our opponent's relevant stuff. If we couldn't counter it and we can't kill it, then this is essentially our universal 1 mana removal. Very powerful. This is a weird quest, a lot of people have never seen this. Rituals of Power, pay 1, target opposing card loses and can't have powers this turn. This is great because if your opponent has certain ongoing abilities, like let's say you have this in play. Your opponent puts a slow on you. You can pay 1, flip the quest, and make it so the slow on you has no, it just silences it, so then you can play 2 or 3 spells in a row to win the counter war. You can also use it against allies that have Will the Forsaken, so that they say they cannot be destroyed. Any cards you have that would just destroy them otherwise, like a Glyphtrace Ritual Knife. That's fun to say a bunch. This can remove their text so you can kill them off easier. It helps you kill aberration creatures So if it's your opponent's turn, at the start of the turn, Blizzard will trigger. In response to Blizzard trigger, you can activate this first to give their aberration guys, probably one guy that has 1 health, to remove its power. Then Blizzard will deal 1 to it. It can't attack, and Blizzard will probably kill it anyways. This also stops combo decks dead in their tracks. You can just do this in the middle of their turn. If your opponent's about to have a huge turn where they don't have instant speed interaction, you can just do this to whatever part of the card they might have, like against Warrior that has Death Wish. Actually, they can activate that in response, but you can use this on their boots that let them untap, kind of ruins their combo, or against Genrock. This makes a lot of cards really bad for 1 turn, and the Mage deck has a lot of ways to draw cards to then remove that thing off the field. So it's like a 1 mana temporary answer, and your deck is built to have card advantage, that it can play cards like this and healing that don't affect the board, so it gives its other cards a chance. Here's our card draw. And again, in this deck, we're not looking to answer every single creature and things our opponents play. Once we have this combo in play, we're happy to kind of sit there until we can get our win cons into play. Question of Gluttony helps us keep cards in hand. You pay 1 less to complete for every card in your hand. Costs 7, so if you have 7 or more cards in hand, it is free. And even if you only have like 6 cards in hand, it only costs 5, so it's still super cheap. It's great early in the game. Later in the game, it's not great if you only have 2 or 3 cards, but as soon as you find a Mana Sapphire, which is going to draw you probably 5, then this card gets to go off for free again. So it's good. It's good and it's cheap and it's easy to complete because we want face down resources for your Ysera. Pay 1 less player for every face down resource. We don't want to have to pay 12. We want to be able to cast her turn 10 as soon as we get there. So that's why our cheap 1 mana quest, probably 0 or 1 mana quest, and this quest again is 1 mana. Pay 1, reveal the top 3 cards, put a revealed card with odd cost 1 or more into your hand, and the rest in the bottom. What are the cards that are odd in this deck? Well, our main card draw is odd, so this gives us a better chance of hitting that card. Most of our interrupts are odd. Actually, everything in this row is odd. We don't hit much removal with it. That's fine. We don't even hit our armor with it. We do hit Netherbreath and Flickers, so we hit some of our win cons. We hit all of the counter spells. It's almost guaranteed to draw us at least something. If not, it's a whiff, but at least it's cheap and super efficient. 1 mana to ponder. I mean, ponder's banned in some Magic formats because it's so good. Being able to dig 3 for 1 mana is just great. I went ahead and put one of these in there. I don't know if it belongs, but I found it so impressive in the other slow deck. I thought I'd like to have at least one in here. It does not have synergy with Netherbreath Spellblade. Remember that, because this shuffles back in your deck, so you can't recast it from your graveyard. However, you can use it to help dig for either part of this combo, because it just helps you find a card, not like an ability or an even cost or an equipment or whatever. It just says any card. So it helps us find our immune to allies combo. Helps us find our slow and counter spells combo. Helps us find our win cons. It can help us find one of our only answers to certain combo decks. So this card's awesome. And when you run into it, it only costs 2. So usually going to get some value out of that. Let's go over the sideboard. We've got a lot of 2-ofs. 2, 2, 3, and 1. 2 Torch of Retribution. This is a quest that costs 4 to complete. Usually your opponent shuffles his graveyard into his deck, you draw a card. This is for certain decks that have really powerful graveyard recursion, like a Nubarak is really hard to deal with for control decks. In fact, is the reason that they often lose, because they just can't keep killing him. Or any other graveyard decks like Spider Solitaire or Vorix Rogue. It's an easy way that this deck's definitely going to get to 4 mana, so we get to get card advantage out of it and just turn off what their deck's doing. Sideboard, we've got 3 more invisibilities. So again, this is a fog or a counterspell that works against discard against certain opponents. And sometimes we just need this answer versus like the hexproof or the untargetable deck. Super annoying to play against, and the moment we just get the ability to start moving their creatures, works out really well. We also have another combo in play that turns off their creatures from really doing anything. We have 2 miniature Voodoo masks, helps deal with equipments and abilities. In addition to our Spell Suppression and Counterspell suite, and our Ritual of Power, which can silence things temporarily. 3 Daedaks, awesome in the creature matchups. Sometimes you just need a way to block and gain a bunch of health back, and this, in addition to Cinnamon Roll, is going to buy you a lot of time. You'll see games where you've easily healed over 20 or 30, and then you could play a Master Hero and gain another 15 on top of that. We have 1 Glyphtrace Ritual Knife. This could go up to 2 or more if you want, but it kind of has a lot of anti-synergy in this deck. You're kind of reliant on your expensive Mana Sapphires to stay in play for a little bit. And this is expensive and clunky. This card is awesome but expensive and clunky. Netherbreath Spellblade, great but expensive and clunky. They're also both melee, so if you play this, you'll have to pop this, which is fine. The point of this is to remove the whole board worth of permanents anyways, but it's just a different card to try and play around. It also ruins your Ebonweave Robe, that combo, and you have no way to get this card back out of the graveyard. You just have to draw it again. So that's the deck. Hopefully you guys like it. It's interesting. It's still got the whole Flickers from the Past card advantage combo going on. It's got 2 different Master Heroes instead of just 1 Thrall, so maybe you find that you like Ysera better. They're very different cards. Netherbreath Spellblade is really sweet if you've ever played it before. It's kind of like you stop drawing cards from your deck, you just look in your graveyard and go, alright, what's the sweetest card in my graveyard every turn? And that's the Silvermoon version of the Slow Mage. I'm curious to see what you guys would think is so different about this deck. It's interesting that such a small archetype has 2 different builds. I don't usually say this, but hey, if you have some comments, please leave them. I'd like to see what y'all's opinions are. Again, that's Slow Mage. Hope you guys have some fun playing with it, and maybe even against it.